to the Lipstick Living channel. I'm Rachel, and you can find me on Instagram at The Lipstick Living. I would love for you to follow me there. Please like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. So today's video is my Q2 book review, and it is going to be a quickie because I only read 5 books in Q2. So I did not do much reading. Usually I will read about 5 to 6 books per month. So it was very little reading for me that quarter, but that's okay. I'm still gonna run through these because I thought that all the books that I read in Q2 were really good. So even though there's only 5, I would highly recommend all of these to really anyone. I thought they were all great books. So the first one I read is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book was the book club pick for the Bad on Paper podcast, and they also have a Facebook group, so I would highly recommend. I don't really use Facebook that much, but there are really great posts of book suggestions and recommendations, so I highly recommend. Even if you don't listen to podcasts, I recommend that Facebook group. This one is a science fiction fantasy, I guess. I guess it wouldn't be fantasy. I think it's just science fiction, but it is very good. I didn't think that I was gonna like it. I'm not a huge science fiction reader, but I do love anything about space. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very heartwarming, and the ending was not what I expected at all. And there's a big twist kind of in the middle, and then from then on it just is so interesting. It's definitely a page turner. I won't give any spoilers, and I think this book is best if you kind of go in blindly and just read it without any context to it. But it is about space. It is about a man who is trying to save the earth from this alien life force that is sucking the energy, or it's taking all of the energy from the sun, which is going to basically make the earth die in like 30 years, they project. So they build this spaceship and are launching it into space to see if they can figure out how to save earth. And that's all I'll say. Highly recommend, definitely 5-star read. And then the next book I read was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. So this one was a book club pick for Jenna at the Today Show. I think it's like Jenna's book club. I will try to link her Instagram up here so that you can follow if you're interested, because so far every book I've read that she's recommended has been really great. So this is about an older woman. I think she's around 80 or in her 80s, and her name's Tova, and she works as a janitor for an aquarium, and it's set somewhere near the ocean. I don't remember where it is. Let's see. It says the Sal Bay Aquarium. Anyway, she makes friends with this giant octopus, and his name's Marcellus, and he's really intelligent and helps her solve a mystery. It's very interesting. There's other characters that kind of feel like main characters as well, and they have their own thing going on. So it's I wouldn't call it plot heavy, but it's enough to keep you interested. So I thought it was a page turner. I thought it was really great. I loved it, and it was very heartwarming, and I love anything about animals or nature along with a mystery. That is like my favorite kind of book to read. So I highly recommend this, especially if you liked Where the Crawdads Sing. I think you would. This is very different. It's not similar in any way, but it's got that kind of animal friendship mystery thing going on. So definitely recommend this. 5 stars for sure. The next one I read is Yerba Buena, which is by Nina LaCour. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, so this is about 2 women, and you follow the lives of both of them. One from the time that she was around 16. I can't remember if the other one was 16, but she was around that age when you are introduced to her as well. But one grows up, they're both in California, but one is in LA, and then the other one is further out, kind of like in the, I guess, suburbs. So the one that's kind of further out, she runs away at 16 because her mom had passed away when she was 14, and her her girlfriend that she fell in love with at age 14 goes missing. And I won't say any more than that, but she runs away to LA, and she is introduced on the way to this woman who gives her this plant, yerba buena, in some tea, and apparently that plant grows wildly in California, and so she's introduced to it there, and it has a unique flavor. And then she goes on to be a bartender, a very famous one, where she bartends and like does big events and meets celebrities, and uses this plant in her cocktails. And then the other girl takes a job at this restaurant, this famous restaurant in LA called Yerba Buena, and she arranges flowers for them for the tables. So she ends up meeting the other girl that is a bartender there, and then they spend years apart, and then meet later in life, like in their 30s. So it's about their love story and their past and other things, and how like going through grief and different things. And I liked it. I thought it was a good queer story. However, it was really sad to me in certain places, and I'm kind of over queer stories where they're really sad, where one, you know, has like a horrible death in their family, or one of them dies, or not that, I mean, neither of them died, but still, like, there's just so much that happens that's really, really sad. And I want to read a queer story where it's happy and things work out, just to give that narrative as well, because not every queer person is always grieving or going through really sad things, so it's just not realistic. So I still will give it a 4-star because the writing was good. I will say in the first 50 pages, I almost DNF'd it. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be good. And then once I got over that hump, I was like, okay, I think this is a good story. And it ended up being, but I will say the beginning of it was a little slow. So, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was still a really good story. So I would give this 4 stars. The next book I read is Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. This was the book club pick for Bad on Paper podcast. And it is a romance novel about a journalist who writes an article about this up-and-coming celebrity, and then they spend a weekend together after her meeting with him. He invites her over to his house for a party that night, and then they end up spending the whole weekend together. And so she wrote this article about the weekend where she spent with him, and because he was this up-and-coming celebrity, everybody freaked out about it and thought that they had like slept together, and it was like this mysterious thing, and so that made her famous. And then she goes on with a really great writing career, and I think she writes a couple of novels. And then in their 30s or 40s, I think they meet in their like late 30s again, because she never saw him again after that weekend. She ends up like marrying someone else, and then I think he does as well, and then they end up meeting later in life, and then it goes on from there. But it was very good. I enjoyed it, even with it being a romance. Like, I enjoyed the characters. I liked both of them. I don't think I would like be best friends with the characters, but I did like them. They weren't terrible, and the plot was interesting too. So I would give this, I mean, if you like romance, you probably would give it a 5-star. I would probably only give it a 4-star just because it's not my type of book, but I loved the writing and the story. And the way it's written is kind of interesting because there's little bits of like article pieces and magazine excerpts and little things like that that are between chapters that keep it interesting. So I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. Okay, the next story, or the last book I read in Q2, is Cover Story by Susan Rigetti. This is about a con artist, and I can't remember where she's from, but she's from another country, and she ends up she works for Elle magazine in the beginning. Her name's Kat. And then this other aspiring writer ends up getting an internship at Elle magazine, and that's how they meet. It is a page turner. It is so good, and it had a huge mystery, and even the ending, I still don't understand really what happened. It was such a mind fuck. I was not expecting that ending at all. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like very intriguing, and the way this one is written, it has little like excerpts of the main character Laura's diary entries, and you follow that along throughout the story. And then there's like receipts and emails between people and letters and sticky notes that are left on people's desks and like text messages between people. And then there's like Instagram posts in here. Like here's an Instagram post. So it's really interesting. It's like a different way of writing. You could read this in a day. I would say you could read it in a couple of hours because it's such a page turner. You can read it really quickly and it's an easy read too. But the writing is awesome. Here's a picture of like a little sticky note. It's not like a YA or anything. It's definitely more elevated than that. So I would give this 5 stars for sure. I highly recommend. So my 5 stars were Cover Story, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and Project Hail Mary. So those are my 5-star reads from quarter 2. And then the other 2 I would give 4 stars. So those are all of my books, and I will have a ton more for the next quarter. So it'll be a little bit of a longer video, hopefully. But if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in my next one. Bye.